is a stencil that I designed for joggles. It's called Really Useful Circles, and you can see that it has some of my favorite sizes of circles. I love using circles in all of my artwork. I know a lot of other people do too, and I think the stencil's great because you can use it just like this to get a super cool design. Or what if we cut it into 3 stencils? Okay, so you could use a paper trimmer to get this straighter, or you could use scissors, paper trimmer scissors. I'm just gonna go ahead and use my scissors. Okay, so here I'm just gonna hold up my stencil, and it's a great size for holding onto the wall because this is one of the ways that I work, obviously. I have some acrylic paint on here, and I'm just gonna tap it through the stencil. And there you go. I have this really easy way I can line up the circles if I want to kind of continue it on as if it were a bigger stencil, right? And then this way I can add texture. I'll also sometimes take a stencil and I will push it, the side that I just stenciled with, against the work to try to get some of that color off because I like a messier look, so I really like that. It's probably the closest I come to cleaning my stencils. Now I'm holding it on here. You could also tape it if you wanted something more precise, but this is the way that I tend to work. You can see that I'm layering in a slightly darker color here. Again, I'm still working in the background layer here, so I'm not thinking too hard about serious compositional questions. So here you can see I haven't fully filled in the circles because I'm so close to the edge. But the nice thing about a stencil, especially if you're not concerned about super precise, is I've simply lined it up with those existing circles and I can finish them out now. So now you can see with very little effort, right? I have managed to just add a little bit of texture to this canvas to make the background slightly more interesting. Now, could I do the same thing with the large stencil? Well, of course. It just involves holding the larger stencil up for a project like this as opposed to holding the smaller stencil. I think the real difference comes when doing something like gelatin printing. So onto, this is like a regular 8x10 gelatin plate. I'm putting out some acrylic paint. Then I'm going to put out this stencil right on top of it. Joggles, by the way, which makes these stencils, does sell a gelatin plate that fits these stencils perfectly, 9x12, but this is what I happen to own. So I'm going to put this down and rub. I'm using just regular copy paper that I printed 1 layer of yellow onto. There you go. There is that print. And then if I take the stencil off, there should be enough paint underneath that we can go ahead and grab the opposite print. Okay, so absolutely 100%, you know this stencil is fabulous and I love this collage paper and it's going to be super fun. But let's have some fun with the stencils we cut apart, right? I can completely and totally make up however I want this to go. You know what? Since I do have this other stencil, oops, just another reason to buy more than one, I'm going to put that there. I used a lot of paint, so it's moving around a little bit. How cool is that, right? It's the same stencil, but it's not because I was able to reconfigure it since we cut it up. Now, I am going to use this print for some cleanup. I just want to remove any of the excess paint that's here. Looks like we did a pretty good job. This stuff looks like it's probably pretty dry. This, by the way, is what the print looks like on top. So let's go ahead and remove these stencils. Cool. This piece of paper, by the way, I ripped on the plate, which is why it has that, but it will still be a fine print. I think it's also a little bit wet right there, so it's a little transparent, so I'm going to try not to rip the paper again. So here you go. There is the negative of that, the positive of that. One of the things that I enjoy doing is creating composed prints. Composed prints are prints that are not random or a guess or happenstance, but are really and truly planned out, thought ahead prints that you're thinking about. I have a lot of paint on here, probably more than I should. I'm gonna roll some off. Part of composed prints is being really intentional about where you put things on the plate, such as where you put various colors. But that's also where having these smaller stencils comes in, because I can place them really exactly where I want. So now I can use a comb and a palette knife and even some paper to just remove any paint that I don't want on the plate so that I can, you know, compose my print. So now I have a really thought out composed print. Let's see what we got. Oh, it turned out great. Right? This is a thoughtful composed print that I composed on purpose, and I was able to use these cut apart stencils to really create the look that I wanted. And something that I will sometimes do if I want to like emphasize a certain part is I'll even go in with some transparent paints. This is a glaze that I mixed up, which looks like it's almost out. And I didn't set up any registration, so this might be a little bit off, but I'll do my best to guess. So there's a bit more, you know, of a finished and completed print, and I could keep working and playing around with it, but I think you get the idea that what you really want with these little stencils is to be able to use them in sort of different ways than you could use a big stencil. So I hope I haven't traumatized you too much, and that you're excited about the possibilities of either using it large as one stencil or cutting it up and having 3 small stencils. Either way, circles never go out of style. Let me know, would you do this, or are you saying absolutely no way? As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment, a like, tell a friend about the channel. All that kind of stuff helps my channel grow. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.